This is Potatoes Gang, and today we are engaged with a very important subject matter: moral authority abandoned. What is moral authority? Well, we come to moral authority from the perspective of the writing of a great leadership scholar, James McGregor Barnes, who talks about the intellectual as possessing moral authority. And part of the manifestation of this moral authority is in how the intellectual engages as a public intellectual in shaping public thought leadership, in giving society a sense for what's right or what's wrong, what direction is appropriate to take. Part of the observation about Nigerian society of our recent experience is that there are many people who feel that the public intellectual is lost. That if you went around Nigeria in the 70s and the 80s, you had great domination of public conversation by, if you were in Kaduna, for example, on RKTV, in the new Nigerian newspapers, Ahmadu Bello University professors, Bala Usman, Patrick Wilmot, and so on and so forth there. You came to Lagos, you saw a certain collaboration between an intellectual newspaper elite, the Stanley McCables, the Yemi Ogunbis, and co, with academics like the Femi Oshofisons, and so on and so forth, that led to a certain elevation of public conversation. Today, that is said not to be there. Has the public intellectual disappeared in Nigeria? Has this moral authority been abandoned? That's an appropriate question for us to pose. What has been largely responsible for this shift in perceptions, if nothing else? And what has been the impact on our quality of decision making in our country? I don't know, perhaps we should start with Akin Oshutogun and his perspectives on this.
Thank you very much. I think, a book was written. Somebody wrote a thesis on the correlation between sustainability of democracy and per capita income. Right. That democracy can only endure or tends to endure in societies on which the per capita income has not fallen beyond a certain stage. Now, the greatest facility for moral authority is a certain amount of socio-economic independence.
Very true.
Right. You look at Nigeria today, and has been there like that for a while. You are mentioning those individuals. When I was also in Guardian, not long ago, you could survive on your salary. It was possible for you to survive on your salary, and thereby you are not exposed to the pressures of seeking other means of supplementing your income. So that independence, there has been a great erosion of that independence with the degeneration of the socio-economic development of the country. So, and that is also reinforced by the predominance, overwhelming predominance of public sector over the private sector in in generating patronage. Right. I mean, look, and of course you look at, and that is also reinforced by the monoculturalism of the oil sector. When you put all these together, it takes away, it has the capacity to subvert, the economic independence of scholars. I think Thorstein Veblen was the one who spoke about the leisure of the theory class. That those are for you to function very well as an intellectual elite theory, you must have what he calls a leisure. In other words, you can exist.
Although their contentment in the nature of their lifestyle is such that you don't need too much.
Exactly.
But you need at least the basic elements.
The hygienic
Functions.
the hygienic needs. I dare say I want to situate it within contemporary history that we had a military president in this country. I don't have to necessarily mention names. Well, specifically I'm talking about Babangida, who believed strongly that he could settle. We had this settlement culture. So whether you are in the media, whether you're in politics, you could virtually settle.
But are those things really true or are they myths? Because I was around very much. I knew Babangida. He never tried to settle me. I wish he tried. I would not be so poor.
Even if it were true, it's true. Of course, it's true.
Prof, if you settle, will let me know.
You are,
Settlement is not necessarily in cash.
Okay.
Settlement can be in some kind of patronage, such a way that you can go around it. He tried, I remember he tried, and he messed up the titularies of this world at one point in time. So at the end of the day, like Akin is saying, I think the issue of erosion, okay, the erosion of values, of those things that made Nigeria thick in those days of yore, about 1983 specifically, the likes of Chief Obafemi Awolowo of blessed memory will come out and give state of nation. And then you had university professors who will be juggling to say yes, we agreed or disagreed, basically because the Awolowos of this world have sat behind the scene while other people were carousing and getting the Professor Alukus of this world to engage him in real debates. So that has gone down. The educational curriculum that teaches the basics of morality and what have you has gone down.
I think that's where I want to come in, because we can't talk about intellectuals without talking about the educational condition system that we run. And I think this whole thing about the abandonment of moral authority by intellectuals, if you look carefully, you will find that it started deteriorating when the education system started deteriorating too. So people don't look to the intellectual
Knowledge.
Yes, don't look to. They don't imagine or conceive that you could become anything by knowing. And that's what gives you.
It's interesting as an example I like to cite as a professor, Professor Steve Okecha. I used to be Dell's, I think he's an advisor at the AUC. He wrote a book on the Ivory Tower in Nigeria. I think it's All I Already Know Tower or something like that. And he gives an example, an anecdote or whatever, that there was a rumor, like, I don't know, in 1961 or something, that Professor Onwuka Dike, who was then Vice Chancellor at the University of Ibadan, was sighted in Onitsha Market. And people began to shut their stalls so that they can go and see with their 2 eyes. He says today, if 100 Professor Dikes marched through Onitsha Market, people won't even notice anybody was passing.
We should develop the point he was trying to make.
Okay.
And that I think is a systemic failure. It's also part of it. Systemic failure in so we see the manifestations of failure in every aspect of society. It is not only, you see it's a syndrome, right? That it then results the failure of the military, capability of the military, the failure of educational system, the failure of politics, the failure of icons of society. It has become systemic, but of course that is subject to limitations of system theory. But the more and more that I look at Nigeria, the more it seems logical that we take a holistic perspective. That look, all this will go wrong unless this is done. Well, to some extent, what people don't like to talk about restructuring, for instance. Like, restructuring will provide that kind of response. You will need a new, like a shock therapy. We need to find a new equilibrium. Nigeria is in a state of disequilibrium.
Okay, I agree with you on that restructuring bit of it. However, restructuring will have to need the correct mindset. And because no matter
But
how
first,
you
the restructure
restructure,
is the mindset.
okay, well, because you know, you restructure and you say we should all go straight towards the right, and some people just.
But did I hear a rumor that President Buhari said that restructuring is an imperative? Is that I hear that?
It's
Okay,
not
see,
a rumor.
this
He made a statement.
That is
it
another
is
failure.
now-
You see,
it is now
saying that because
imperative.
first, he doesn't mean it. Secondly, I don't think
You had to.
Akin,
Eh, what
Akin,
listen,
because-
you know, well, listen.
Akin, how did you know that?
Let me say because the first thing he said when he was elected
Yes.
was to choose his own understanding of restructuring
Of course.
as the
Yes.
restructuring of the economy.
Yes.
And he has consistently been saying so. The way he came to the logic of true federalism is questionable. That is not what the way, okay, if he is persuaded of it, then it is it was too casual and trivial in the way he was coming.
The basic
The
things.
president of the country cannot just come out to say that through federalism.
Well, the basic things that will change the course of history sometimes starts with, are you sure? Churchill, Winston Churchill who said, I might have said that in the past, I might have changed my mind. The reality of the moment compels a situation where, I think I'm a bit much more positive, that he has
But
no choice for
if you want to
Nigeria.
back this all up, in the early days of the American Federation, only property people could vote. And property was a measure for your social standing, generally speaking,
Your
that means your
status,
education,
your class,
everything.
yes.
Is it right to therefore say that there is a challenge with our democracy in the fact that it is dominated by people who should not actually, in the American sense of it, be voting, and therefore the intellectuals themselves have decided we have no place in this democracy? Can that be an explanation?
No, I think these are dysfunctions. Nigeria has become a dysfunctional society. And that it is universal. There is hardly any aspect of Nigerian society that you can pick out that you will not see the element of this one. Religion,
Okay, yeah.
religion,
Yeah,
everything.
Well, let's take a break, go out, talk to the people, and come back and see if this gang is dysfunctional. Because it's quite possible when we are out there, we'll find out from the people what they think, and then we'll know.
When the government is saying that way, it will be reduced. We don't want people that are just striving to get there.
The quality of social media conversations in Nigeria, or when you get to see a gathering of Nigerian youths, will actually tell you the level of degradement in the intellectual capacities of Nigerians. When you look at those tweet charts, when you look at those conversations, you wonder if we have an education system at all in the country. I think we have a fundamental problem in Nigeria wherein our moral compass has been wrongly tilted, in the sense that people don't see intellect as a value anymore. We all want to just make it in life, and we don't mind however we make it happen.
Looking at the Nigerian terrain, studying Nigeria, it's one key thing to note is the fact that an average Nigeria, do not really understand what's going on. So we don't have our figures, we don't have our statistics. So people just say things and that amounts to more like building castles in air. So when there's an intellectual issue, maybe on politics, on governance, on leadership, you just see the bulk of average Nigeria do not really understand how to engage intellectually on this issue. Probably because, I think it's a systemic problem that stems from, our cultural value system, how we grew up.
And we are back. This is Pachito's Gang. And we're trying to measure, gauge, check, use a proper barometer to find out the pressure of the level of dysfunctionality of this gang. So, how are we going to wake up the intellectuals in Nigeria? How do we create a new intellectual or thought leadership? Rebuild moral authority of intellectual. There are people who argue that the attraction of the academe is not what it used to be. That in the 60s, the finest went on to become junior fellows and then stayed on as academics. And today, the finest are the first to escape. And so maybe what has happened is that there's a diminution of quality of the academic group. Is there anybody?
That may be true. That may be right, Prof. And for me, I think the way to rebuild the intellectual or the moral authority of the intellectual goes back to the point I made earlier. We must then rebuild the education base, the value of knowledge. If we rebuild the value of knowledge by improving quality of education, improving the status of people who are in that space, teachers, professors, lecturers, and all those things, then we gradually we'll see that those things will take its course.
I will step back.
Private universities, can they help facilitate this?
Before you go to private universities, I think, look, let's start from the foundation. It does not require rocket science to know certain things are right, certain things are wrong. Situations where professors in the academic community are not paid to meet the hygienic needs that you mentioned. Their children see the children of local government chairmen and some political actors in society flying around and throwing money around, and then you expect people to sit for the rigor. So we must start from that morality aspect. We must all agree that a university professor, for instance, a Professor Claude Oki of blessed memory, should be such that the kind of emoluments he earns should be such that he will be able to command the basics rather than now be kowtowing to local government chairman.
What you are saying is a positive correlation between productivity, hard work, and reward.
Yes.
The reward system has broken down.
Completely.
So
Completely.
it is that is what is lacking. And of course, look, my uncle, he was a medical professor. He's dead now. But he was the first person to buy Mercedes 280S in Ibadan in the 70s. How did he buy it? Giving lectures all over the world. He had fellowships here and there. With welcome, all these pharmaceutical entries, maybe a car goes with it, And when we were growing up, professors were upper middle class, with pump sex and things like that, like anybody growing up, if you are going to the university at a time, almost everybody, the best wants to become a professor, want to stay on the university system.
Clear.
All these studying law and so on, it's a letter, that was the role model. That was what. No, I'm not. So now, and you have said it, the intellectuals, if you are not valued, if you are not, it's part of the underdevelopment syndrome that intellectuals are not given their commensurate.
My uncle was a professor of medicine that we all know. That was very celebrated. We grew up in Ibadan and all of that. But at one of the CVL events, the now late Professor Lagoon Hospital. Professor Elebute,
yes.
Made the point that when he was appointed a professor of medicine at the University of Lagos, his salary was higher than that of a prime minister of the country. Now, can you imagine a situation where everybody in National Assembly earns more than the most celebrated professor in Nigeria?
Several times,
if you take directly, indirectly, that kind of society cannot make
At all.
progress. It is dysfunctional because the value that we place on a person's output is just not working. You know,
Yeah.
so there are many issues that need to be addressed by Nigeria. So when you talk about restructuring is not. In fact, I attack restructuring, by the way, going in that direction from the perspective that we are too focused on sharing. The problem with this economy is that it's based on revenues and share of revenue.
And not
No
production.
economy has sustained growth based on revenue and its allocation. It's production, output. That's what makes for growth. So when somebody has spent so many years in school training to be a doctor, then training to be a professor of medicine, and some character who rushes out from some motor park and is elected or sees ballot boxes and calls himself now elected to something, and several multiples of that person.
Exactly.
It's not possible for incentives to be right in that
And the
system.
society is not able to checkmate that effectively, like Aki says. Professor Ibrahim Gambari then Dr. Ibrahim Gambari at Ahmadu Bello University propounded some kind of theory around this. Packaged it, but the authorities at that time were just not ready to listen. You know, we call them the Ahmadu Bello Political Intellectual Group, and you had the Bala Osmans of this world, you know, Wilmot before he was deported, and what have you. So they packaged this thing. Somebody sat in the Ministry of Education, saw that this was going to be a glitter of hope for the intellectuals, sat on it, killed it. Then what did you have? You saw a whole brain drain of people going out of Nigeria, and Nigerians are excelling elsewhere where values, like Aki says, is now being recognized. So
Even sorry, look, even the facilities that you need to sustain
research.
intellectual productivity is not there. There's no light for you. So how do you go to your office in the hot, humid,
and there's no water.
So that is not, apart from what you are earning. There is nothing to sustain it. Journals up to date, where will you find it?
Many years ago, I was writing a case study on, I think it was Black Zoo Welcome, and they were talking about why they quit trying to test medicines in Nigeria. They usually work with professors at UCH. And they will start. He said, as soon as they begin to make some progress, he said the man has left for Saudi Arabia. He will start with the next set of medicine professors. The man has left for, after a couple of tries, they just gave up.
Probably remember, I don't know if you remember I told the story at the book launch when I was watching my book of how my brother and I used to play, make aeroplanes with the journals my father used to get, those flyers they sent to professors and all that. And I remember living on the Enugu campus. I grew up on the campus in those days, the Enugu campus. I remember that somebody said when they moved into the campus once, the guy went around and said, man, in Igbo, that day I want to go to London.
Because university environment was like...
my dad had brought me to London because the environment was like that. It was serene, it was calm, everything worked,
And the children of the academics went to very good universities.
Exactly, yes.
So they didn't
International
need
schools,
to,
yes.
you didn't need to earn a fortune.
Exactly,
Because they were subsidized, world-class quality
Exactly.
secondary schools and all of
Exactly.
those.
Look,
Maybe what we need to do is perhaps be serious and have the moral, political courage to begin to earmark
To review.
25%,
Let's review.
30%
the reverse,
of our GDP into
the
education.
reverse of what used to happen is what is happening now. Years ago, Nigerian academics who train abroad, they are in a hurry to come back
home.
back home.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I
I can tell you, I left the very day my PhD thesis was
Is it?
accepted. Gone back to Nigeria. And
Professor Lebute, same. Professor Shutokun said.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, unfortunately, time is a slave master and insists that we must go. Well, you've heard the beginning of the conversation. Let it be carried on in beer parlors and all kinds of places where we need to have this conversation take place. And if you look at our various handles running on the screen, follow us, Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth. This is critical. If we don't get this right, we're wasting our time with everything else we're doing. At the base of all progress is the quality of education people get and how those who give that education become torchbearers, the moral authority of the intellectual. See you next time.